Cooper Marcher here. Do you know why some countries drive on the right and some countries drive on the left? In my never-ending quest to keep you informed, I'm going to tell you. The origin varies based on the time period and country, but primarily throughout history, people used the keep left rule. It has been recently that the world has predominantly switched to the keep right rule. Evidence suggests it was common for Romans to drive on the left side of the road. Despite the Middle Ages, during the Middle Ages, the roads weren't always very safe for travelers. Meeting people coming the other way on the road was something best done defensively. Historians believe the keep left rule was adopted because on a horse, if you were right-handed and you met some unsavory company on the road, you could draw your weapon with your right hand and bring it to bear quickly against that person, while controlling the reins with your left hand. People on horseback then also typically ruled the road, so everybody followed suit. What ended up happening to force the switch in the 18th century were the teamsters in the United States, who would drive large wagons with a team of horses, as the name implies. These wagons tended to dominate the road and force everybody else to abide by the rules of the road they were using. Very importantly, in many of those old, large American wagons, they did not include a seat on the wagon for the driver. Rather, the driver would typically sit on the rear leftmost horse when the driver was right-handed. This allowed them to easily drive a whole team of horses with their right hand. This then forced the issue of having oncoming traffic on your left, as the drivers would want to make sure any part of their team or wagon didn't collide with oncoming traffic. When sitting on the rear leftmost horse, this was much easier to do when using a keep right rule of the road. Gradually, the system spread so that by the late 18th century, the first laws in the United States were passed, starting in 1792 in Pennsylvania, where the rule of the road was now officially a keep right rule. This quickly spread throughout the United States and Canada. So how did this spread through Europe? Well, it started in France. The reasons why the French switched to a keep right rule instead of the traditional keep left rule aren't completely clear. Some say it's because the French revolutionists didn't want anything to do with anything that had ever been Pope decreed. Still others say it was entirely Napoleon's doing. Napoleon then spread this system throughout the countries he conquered. Even after he was defeated, some of those countries he had conquered chose to continue with the keep right system. The most important of these countries as far as eventually further spreading the keep right system was Germany. Fast forward to the 20th century, and as Germany conquered countries in Europe, they forced their keep right system onto those countries. England never adopted this method, primarily because massive wagons, as became common in the United States, didn't work well on the narrow streets, which were common in London and other English cities. England also was never conquered by Napoleon or later Germany. Thus, they kept the classical keep left rule of the road that has endured for hundreds of years before. By 1756, this was made official law in Britain. What side of the road do you drive on? Cooper Marcher here. Ciao.